YouTube and beautiful people. Okay, I need to figure out my lighting situation. Sorry. Hi, welcome back to my channel. My name is Seema if you are new here, and this channel is mainly revolving around topics like spirituality and self-care and things like that. So in this video, I'm going to talk a little bit about self-care, what it is, why it matters, why we need it, all that kind of stuff. It's very important, okay? Basically, why do we need self-care, right? Why is it very important that the first priority that we have is to take care of ourselves? Why is it the first priority that we need to be cultivating every moment of every day? Well, first of all, we live in our heads, right? I don't think people understand how unbelievably powerful our minds are and how much of an impact and influence they have on our daily lives. Our minds are quite literally creating our reality every single moment of the day. And, we live in our heads. Anything anyone says to us, whether it's good or bad, we hold on to it. Most usually the bad stuff, right? We are critics as well. We are very good at finding problems with ourselves. Or, right, the flip side of that is that we can be simultaneously overly congratulatory of ourselves on no solid basis. So it's very important that we are honest with ourselves, right? That we actually know where we stand in our evolvement and what we need help with, what we don't need help with, what we should be working on, what we should grow towards, right? Because we all need growth all of the time and things like that. So essentially, when it comes to self-care, there are three ultimate realms of self-care: the mind, the body, and the spirit, the energy, the soul, whatever you want to call it, right? Three of them. And they're all connected, right? Whatever you feed your body is the same diet that your brain receives. Whatever you feed your brain, thought-wise, is the same diet that your body will receive. So we should be making sure that the diet that we feed ourselves, mind-wise, body-wise, and spirit-wise, is very, very clean to practice the ultimate form of self-care. So when it comes to the mind, what is the appropriate diet, right? Or what should we be ideally feeding ourselves mentally? So mentally, we encounter so many things, right? Human beings are very different. We're very complicated. We're very unique. We come with our own set of problems, genetic issues, right? Mental stuff, physical stuff, even ideas about money and things like that that we need to kind of break, right? And this is the process of getting to know oneself, breaking all other prior conditioning that has been built up thus far into our minds. This could be our thoughts, this could be other people's thoughts, this could be social conditioning, this can be repetitive patterns, ways of seeing yourself, right? Ways of seeing the world and your life in general. This can be your physical image, how you see your body, right? How you see your persona, how you see yourself in reflection to the rest of the world. This can be how you see other people. This can be your goals in life, right? What you want most, or what you think you want based on what someone else has told you. There's no end, you know what I mean? This can be the way you see your health and, whether you will get better or you will never get better or what have you, right? It's just the way you see yourself. And why is the mind first the most important thing to grab a hold of and take control of? Well, in the ancient text of the Bhagavad Gita, it says that the mind is the greatest enemy, right? Or the greatest friend, depending on whether or not the mind is controlled. So an uncontrolled mind is one that can very easily manipulate the being, right, the self, into thinking that something's wrong, into thinking that something is wrong with them, into thinking that something is a certain way. Delusion, right? Self-delusion. In tarot, this is known as the Seven of Swords. Self-deception. It's the worst position that we can put ourselves in because there's no way to evade this. There's no true escape route to this, right? The mind is very powerful. So we quite literally, second by second, moment by moment, right, are creating our entire reality. Everything. What we have around us, the health issues that we have, right? The way other people see us and interact with us, everything. So yeah, everything truly is kind of your fault. And, I've been coached on this. When it comes to spirituality, you are supposed to inherently take very great responsibility in a very serious way for your entire life because it is truly, really up to you, right? No matter what physical life circumstances befall us, because there are going to be so many, it is up to us to remain balanced, neutral, buoyant, able to grasp onto stability, right? Able to have a solid sense of self and a solid sense of purpose and where we're going and what have you. And so this is health. This is real health. This is the way we grab a stronghold of our mind, and through repetitive practices of conditioning, right, we decondition ourselves from everything society has told us, everything we used to tell ourselves, and we recondition ourselves into thinking about things that ultimately benefit our life and ourselves, right? Capital S with self, right? Not the ego, but the spirit self, and our purpose here. Next, the body, right? There's so many ways to care for the body. I literally am microwaving my head all of the time. AirPods are very high, what is it? Hello. High frequency? No, they're not high frequency. They are very, they're very radioactive. That's not the right thing either. That's not correct. AirPods have a high radio frequency. There, thank you. They have a high radio frequency. That's self-care as well, right? That's a prime example of self-care. Take out your AirPods when you're not using them. So the body, right? How do we care for the body? This is a little bit easier in my opinion. I do think grabbing hold of the mind is the most difficult part, which is why I listed it first. The body is a little bit more tangible. It's a little bit more physical. So we actually have a very clear understanding, right, or we should have a clear understanding of what we should be consuming in the physical. So what foods to eat, what foods to not eat, right? Forms of physical exercise, forms of rest, forms of detoxing, right? Your own energy, things like that. And yoga is a prime example of how the mind and the spirit are very deeply connected, right? It is a prime reflection of how the mind and spirit are very deeply connected. Why? Because with yoga, you quite literally feel your body changing as you go through the movements, and you feel yourself becoming more energetically balanced. You can actually feel it. So when it comes to the body, we ideally should be feeding ourselves very natural substances, because we are natural beings, right? We come from the earth. We have nature coursing through us, right? The veins in our hands represent the patterns in leaves, right? We are very tied to nature. We just have kind of forgotten how tied to nature we are because of everything that we have kind of encompassed in our day-to-day lives. Especially living in a first world country such as America, which is where I'm from, we don't get that much exposure on how life can be really difficult if we don't take care of our mind, body, and spirit. And we don't really get full disclosure on the benefits of eating, for example, freshly farmed fruit, right? Okay, I guess I'm a poet. So, for example, we don't see the benefits of freshly farmed fruit, right? And how and how beautiful it is to eat something so natural without any pesticides or human interaction or interference whatsoever, right? We don't get that benefit because we buy things from the grocery store and everything is kind of handed to us and it's very easy to survive. So we're not taught, right, from a very basic level, from a very nurturing level, on how to take care of our body primarily, right? And also the mind. I just want to point out that you see so many people on antidepressants and things like that. That is a form of self-care. However, it is a quick fix. It is a quick fix. There's no one that can argue with me on this, right? It comes from a bottle. It's a pill. It's like the fastest fix there is, right? You have some endocrine receptors that are a little bit manipulated in some way, and all of a sudden you're good. And in this country, everything is pretty much a quick fix. I just want to point that out. So ideally, we should be feeding ourselves very natural food, right? Nothing that is rotten or killed. So there's no dire need to eat meat. There's no dire need to eat meat. I'm gonna get so many comments. I'm so excited. So from eating natural foods, we gain all of the vitamins that we need, right? There is iron, there is folic acid, there is vitamin D, and everything that is naturally grown, right? So there's truly no need. I do understand, how meat can be yummy, like, but like, there's no need, is what I'm saying. So what actually happens when you begin to eat a huge influx of fruits and vegetables and whatnot? So what happens when you do this is your body absorbs the distilled water that is in the fruits and vegetables, number one. And distilled water is actually kind of hard to come across unless you buy it in those jugs that you see in stores. But typically tap water or even filtered water is not distilled, right? It has some amounts of fluoride in it, some amounts of sodium, all these kinds of things. So distilled water is actually found in plants and fruits and vegetables. You also find nutrients they have directly absorbed and transmuted themselves, right? That result in, for example, chlorophyll deposits, spirulina deposits, things like this. And the plant, actually what it does, if you studied biology, you'll know this, they take the vitamins from the sun, right? And the energy from the sun, and the nutrients from the water and the outside conditions and the soil and what have you. And they combine them, and as such, they grow, right? And this is a very natural and beautiful process that I don't think we appreciate enough, So it's very important to get a large amount of these things in your diet. And what will happen when you actually do this? Well, a few things. Number one, your frequency will raise, your vibration will raise, how you feel, right? Your emotions will raise. Two, because you begin to feel better, this is actually the first indication that you are becoming more physically sound. And health is the number one priority of all individuals on earth. Right? All of the time. Health is wealth. Once you lose your health, there's nothing else that can help you or save you, right? All the money in the world couldn't help Steve Jobs. Do you know what I mean? A very unfortunate situation. And so it's up to us to really do the best we can. Of course, we can't prevent everything, right? But it is our duty as taking birth in a human form to take care of the insides and the outsides of this humanistic form. So that's why eating cleanly is synonymous with feeling good, and it's very important for everybody to do. Okay, my foot's falling asleep, and this has not happened in so long. When your body falls asleep, it's just lack of circulation. So what you actually have to do is you have to, number one, move it obviously to a different position. And number two, you have to move the limb. You have to just wake it up a little bit. And it's so interesting how blood flow and circulation actually plays a part in everything we do. Everything. From yoga to the way we breathe, right? If you breathe from your chest, if you're a shallow breather, maybe you have anxiety or something, because that used to be me, right? If you breathe from your chest, you are less likely to receive oxygen to your brain. And because of this, you may be more tired, you may be more fatigued, you may lack in energy levels and things like that. So circulation is very important, and eating plants and living a very clean mental, physical, and emotional diet, right, allows you to have lower stress levels, lower cholesterol, and as a result, better circulation. Everything is connected, right? And I just want to point out that the way we feel all of the time is actually the number one most important thing, because like I said in the beginning, the way we feel directly and propositionally constitutes to what we create in here and out here, right? So moving on to spirit, how do we take care of the spirit, the soul, the energy, the unconscious, right? That which we go to when we fall asleep, right? The subconscious. So we take care of this by very attentively monitoring how we feel all of the time, right? Emotions are very important. And we take it upon ourselves to grow spiritually. If somebody does not want to grow spiritually, they won't, right? If they don't want to make progress in their life, they won't. But, like I said before, everything is connected. So if you are somebody that makes progress in one area of your life, automatically it'll trickle down to everything else. So how do we take care of this spirit? Well, like I said before, it's all tied in together, right? But taking care of this spirit, more importantly, has to do with making sure that you feel good all of the time. right? At no expense to anyone else, and also in a way that is not self-serving to the ego, right? But is instead serving to the self, the actual self, the soul, right? The child that you are, the purity that you are. So how do we serve the spirit? Well, there are many ways, right? There are many grounding techniques you can do. I mentioned yoga could be one of them. Going out in nature, right? Going back to our roots is another one of them. But more deeply, it has to do with surrendering. You can also listen to certain binaural frequencies and binaural beats and all these kinds of things. You can meditate, that's a big one. You can chant, that's another big one. But most importantly, and most finally, it has to do with surrender. Loving surrender unto our Creator, that which created us, that which is maintaining us day by day, second by second, that which will eventually devour us into itself to begin a new cycle all over again, right? So this is source consciousness, right? This is source itself. This is God. This is nature and the intelligence behind nature. This is whatever name you want to give it, right? It is the all-powerful, all-knowing, all of the time. So how do we surrender onto this force, right? That which is powering our heartbeat. How do we surrender? Well, human beings are not known to change unless they go through pressure, right? This is known, this is factual. Human beings are not known to actually grow in any way unless they are put in very dire circumstances in which they either lose their health, they lose someone, they lose something. I don't want to say anything, but they lose something, right? Our words are very powerful. You have to be careful of what you say as well, right? So even when I film these videos, I take great care in making sure that I am careful of what I say. So typically, it takes some sort of awakening, if you will, which is, getting your life kind of shook a little bit. And this is different for everybody. For me, it happened in various types of ways, right? But it's not even about that. It's not about what you go through. It's about where you're going. And it's about what you are doing right now to eventually get where you're going, which always should be living in the present moment, right? Because this moment is the only thing that exists. The past is a figment, and so is the future, right? The future is imagination. We don't know, right? So surrender is truly surrendering to Kala, time, right? This present moment, right? God. So how do we surrender? Well, we have to do it with love. There's no other way, right? It involves loving, open devotion, and ultimately the understanding that nothing you have is yours, right? Everything that has been given to you is a gift, including your life. Because you didn't technically do anything that you know of right now, right, to deserve it. So everything that you have has been given to you. So if everything you have has been given to you, then truly nothing is yours. This body that we have, it grows old and it decays. Are we in charge of that? No, right? Are we in charge of the sun coming up tomorrow? No. We have no true control over the force of nature. The force of nature controls everything finally, right? Only, constantly. So true surrender is understanding that you come from the one and you will eventually go back into the one, right? That is true surrender. And it can only be done with love. Why? Love is the highest frequency on the scale of frequencies. It is the highest one. What does this mean? It means it is the most powerful, right? So because love is the most powerful frequency, this one is actually comprised of pure, unconditional, divine love. So through love, we can conquer, if you will. We don't conquer anything, but we can, through surrender, win over this being, right? This oneness. And it's not to obtain anything. It's not to obtain money or power or even health, right? Everything is already done as is the will of the one. So to wish is a very humanistic sort of quality, right? That we, being here, should be trying to transcend, should be trying to surpass. We shouldn't ideally be wanting or desiring anything, Why? If you're in one state, right, of consciousness or being or whatever, what have you, to remain there is to remain stagnant, right? To remain still. Stagnancy is probably the worst position to be in because you're not moving. Ideally, we should be moving forward, upward, right? How do we move upward from a very humanistic sort of perspective? By attempting to transcend, right? And how do we transcend? Like I said, surrender. Loving surrender, right? This is true compassion. And when you see simultaneously the one in all living beings, in all animals, in all plants, in all humans, right? You understand how no one is separate from anyone or anything else. And because of this, no one is different from anyone else, right? No one is different. And your heart opens. So it is through practicing this loving awareness and this devotion of surrender that we can truly care for our spirit soul, because everything else comes after that. The meditation, the binaural beats, the frequencies, the grounding techniques, right? The knowledge of energy and chakras and everything, it comes later. Everything comes after that true surrender. Because when you surrender, you see the truth. So caring for the spirit soul begins and ends with surrender. And this is the best thing to feed ourselves because it is the truth. I say this all the time, right? Everything that is material is eventually gone. It's eventually annihilated. It's eventually changed in some way. It is simply a plane of experience, right? It is not the end-all be-all. In fact, it is a very small fraction, it's a very small fragmented part of the true totality. And also, what is the opposite of something that is material and temporary, right? Something that is eternal and infinite. And the eternal and the infinite is that one source that powers all of our heartbeats. So many noises. So, because the only truth is pure unconditional love, like I said, right? We should be trying, ideally, to act in this mode of loving service as much as we can, right? When we surrender, we are saying, hey, nothing I have is mine. How can I serve the one that gives me everything? Because I am in such a position, right, that number one, I'm very unfortunate that I'm not with you, right, with God. And number two, I'm very fortunate simultaneously that I have taken a human body form, right? And that I have the ability to know you, to not only know you, but understand you, right? What is understanding? Understanding is a combination of knowing and feeling. So when we understand this one, we understand that treating everybody and everything with compassion is the only thing that we should be doing, number one, right? Number two, it is the only truth. And number three, it is our constitutional position as highly functioning species to carry out this duty. So all in all, I just want to finish off by saying that when you embody all of these methods of self-care, and when you embody true surrender and carry out the mood and the spirit of true loving devotional surrender, and carry out the mood and the spirit of true compassion, right, you understand your life purpose, right, and what you were supposed to do here, in any regard, in any form, whatever that might be. So, my camera is dying. My camera has died so many times. And life purpose is also a whole other topic that I will make a video about, but if I were to continue, it would be too much. So I'm gonna go. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, be sure to leave a like or comment. I don't know what I'm doing with my hair. You can also subscribe to my channel for more of me and this. Hi. And I will see you in my next video. Peace. Wait, literally, ow, ow. My hair is so heavy. My hair is so heavy. Give me a like, give me a subscription, give me everything, boy, because I'm giving you all of me. And I will see you in the next video.